Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Well, it's an hola boa noite, near enough. Boa tarde, going into a boa noite here in Portugal. And yes, Monday evening when we record some of our Portugal Club recordings. And yeah, it's quite the week for me. I'm going to be 60 a week today. So you get to a milestone like that and all sorts of ideas are going through your head. I've had a major, and they say, don't they? Oh, age never comes alone. You get all your aches and pains. And I said, I had a completely self-inflicted indigestion episode, I'm going to call it. No, let's reframe that as an adventure and a challenge, shall we? Suffice to say, my guest in this conversation now, part two, because we spoke to Eric a couple of weeks ago, had a fantastic conversation with him. There's a great metaphor here in biting off more than I could chew of my lunch, which has caused me pain and challenge ever since then. We do the same with the digital world, you may have noticed. So let's give him a nice big round of applause. I'll bring him onto the screen. Eric, I didn't really mean to introduce you as a kind of indigestion. You're the cure. You're the antacid.
I like it. And as you know, laughter is one of them, right? It helps
Yeah,
us.
absolutely.
The whole thing. And there's so much to laugh about.
Oh, hell yeah. How are you? Tudo bem?
Yeah, very good. Good to see you again.
Yeah, okay. And we're in the times of great heat here in Portugal. It's the 30th of June, last day of June. I mean, it should be hot because it's the summer. There are some sort of real hot spots. I think 40 or 46 possibly recorded in Alentejo yesterday. You're in Porto, a little bit cooler. You got a bit of that river breeze coming in there, haven't you?
Yes, Porto is much cooler, I would say.
Great. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you're cool, calm and collected possibly, and maybe appreciating my indigestion analogy, because that's where we're at, isn't it? And again, there are so many things I want to talk to you about, so many convergences. I was sat in the supermarket earlier on today and I was determined not to get my phone out. And I think you influenced me the last time we spoke to each other. And you've made me self-conscious, if not cured, with it when it comes to the digipause and ridding myself of this ever-present influence in our lives. Later on today, and sorry to be indelicate, but sat on the toilet again, it's there again, isn't it? Just a couple of minutes, waiting in a queue, here it comes again, in the car. It's just too much. And this is something I know that you know a lot about and you've done a lot of research on and you can help people with, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, self-awareness is key to ignite new possibilities. But the only thing is, you got to be ready, because by now we have access to all the information, Carl. I can say that we have so much that it's easy to be overwhelmed. And then guess what? Just like you had with your indigestion, if you consume too much information, it becomes an overload. Yep. And then you're like, but where to start? Yep. So I think that the most important part when it comes to this idea of digital wellness and awareness is to realize that there's nothing wrong with you. It was meant to be this way. It's an addiction by design.
Yes.
It was meant to be this way. So the more you feel guilty, the more power this thing will have on you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's the first thing. That's really the very first thing.
Okay. So you're sounding like the Gabor Mate in a way of the digital detox world. But I mean, again, he makes the same point, I think, not to blame yourself, to understand that these things happen. But the awareness, as you quite rightly said, I think the awareness is the beginning of choice.
Yes. And as you know, I'm Canadian, just like Gabor, so I'm very familiar with this work. I'm not a specialist in trauma, although I had my share of traumas in the past. Right. All that I know is that many people walk into this world with unrecognized traumas that is affecting their behaviors, that are leading to this cognitive dissonance on a daily basis between what you feel and what you do. And I think that part needs to be understood right from the get-go. Because if you take a moment to understand the way you live, the way you behave with others and yourself, choices you made on a daily basis, you then know if you're in a fight, flight, freeze mode, right? And when I talk to people about choices they make on a daily basis, that oftentimes include a kind of coping mechanism that is far from being healthy. Really, that they have this kind of awareness to know where it's coming from. Because nowadays we blame the phone.
Yes.
I spoke to many peers and they say, oh, the phone, it's just about the phone, and you shouldn't take your phone when you go to the toilet. You shouldn't take your phone when you go to, I don't know, wherever you want to go to.
Everywhere.
The bar, waiting for the bus, waiting at the cash. Okay, but then what?
Yeah.
My life is empty and meaningless. I need something to fulfill that emptiness.
Yes, indeed.
So if you don't take care of the sweet spot, by having a sense of purpose in your life, by having clarity about your values, by having a real social ecosystem around you, well, it's kind of game over. Because you're living a life that seems to be cool, but in fact, it's not cool.
Well, that sounds very grave, Eric, and you're pointing to a sweet spot there. I don't know quite exactly where you were. Talk to me more about this sweet spot. Is this the I suppose the emptiness that can be filled with joy and presence until we're sold the fact that it's empty and needs filling up with content?
Exactly. Well, you probably heard about filling the void, you know.
Right.
The idea is always to say, okay, I don't feel good, or I feel a sense of emptiness, so let's binge on something. Yeah. Back in the days, it was like the cigarette, remember? Yeah. And it was completely ignored because it was highly encouraged. It was supposed to be the device to make you feel that you belong to a group, that you can then socialize, that you're kind of fit somehow. Don't know if you remember way back in the 70s and the 80s, doctors were saying openly that smoking is good for you, as long as you use that kind of cigarette that is meant to be light.
Like mine.
I mean, they were full of BS. Yes. But the reason why I use that analogy is because we see the exact same thing with the phone.
Yeah.
We've been told that it's harmless. We've been told that this will help you get things done. We've been told so many lies, and we bought into them. Yeah. And the part that people miss the most is that all of the experts, all the specialists in the field of neuroscience were part of this thing. So when they started to build this idea in places like Stanford University, they knew far too well what they had in mind, which was not to create a device that would be in the service of others, but more something that would consume our time, completely drag us, and make us be at the mercy of the condition from this environment. I mean, we can talk about it for hours, which is not the point, but I need to at least address the issue openly, because a lot of people think that something is wrong with them, and they forgot that the neuroscientists were trained to suggest patterns that constantly condition us to check. Oh, I heard a noise. I'm going to check if I got a message. Oh, there's always this kind of going for something, and really that we get what we're looking for.
And we don't even need the bell anymore, do we? Because we're so conditioned to the feeling that we're looking for. It doesn't even need to make a noise. It can be on silent. And that's a big joke, isn't it? Because if I put my phone on silent, it won't interrupt me so much. But it's not the phone, is it? It's the feeling inside that's interrupting, saying, pick up the phone, because it's been, the Pavlovian response has been fully diversified now, I suppose.
Yeah, we've been programmed to act in a certain way. And remember what I said last time we spoke. I was talking about infobesity that will then lead to digital dementia, early digital dementia.
Wow.
And the reason why I say that is because it's pointless to go after people nowadays and say, shouldn't take your phone with you when you go to bed. It's a place to sleep. Duh. Don't take your phone when you go to the toilet. Don't do this, don't do that. People cannot care less because they need it. You see?
Well, yeah, and to go back to the other analogy, people are still smoking, aren't they? Obviously, so it still works.
Yeah.
Is this what you mean? Because the very alluring phrases you gave to me in earlier online conversation. Yes, we were online, of course, conversing with each other. But pink clouds and digital parasites. Is this what you mean by digital parasites?
Not really. I mean, if we look at pink clouds and digital parasites, I'm talking about people that are choosing destinations like Portugal to move away from what's causing them to be unhappy and unsatisfied.
Oh,
So
okay.
aside from the phone here, and how this choice, oftentimes lead to the opposite. Because when the pink clouds effect is gone, then you're facing what we call reality, which is far from being. But you know the story, like I had too. It looks so pretty when you go online and you check all the social influencers that are bragging about Portugal, and then you say, "This is it. I'm going to move away from this crazy land, and I'm going to fly over, buy a house. This is it, comfort."
Oh,
Suddenly, your freedom becomes a prison
yes.
because the digital parasite are still present.
Yes.
Because here's the fact. I had a chance over my last 6 years in this beautiful country to visit many parts. And since I've been waiting for my visa to be approved, I had a chance to do volunteer work. And guess what? If you really want to understand how people live, go for it. Just volunteer for a few weeks and you will see it for yourself. So I had a chance to see a bunch of North American, just to give you an example, that move here. They buy this beautiful property. They live right by the water. Guess what they do with their days?
Surf. Sunbathe.
You can
Look
go
at
on
their
with the
phones.
list. You
Look
can
at
go
their
on.
phones.
They work remotely. They got to
Right.
pay the bills, which is totally fair.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But the question is, when do you pull the plug? Nobody is there to tell you when it's time to do that.
Yeah.
And that becomes another form of, can I say that? It's another form of escape.
Yeah.
That's why the digital parasites is so present at the moment. Like people feel like, I don't know if it's safe to go out. I don't know if I really want to go and talk to locals. I don't speak the language. I don't know if it's safe, whatever. So let's stay home. It's better. Let's stay connected online. Well, when you're connected online, that's a living conundrum. You are disconnected. The root cause of this social epidemic that we all know of comes from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let's. I need to
That's a
rewind
lot.
a little bit.
That's a
No,
lot to swallow, right?
it is. It is. There's all sorts of things going through my mind, as you might imagine. One of them is to first of all say I have been that guy. I am seen as a Portugal influencer. Come over because it's fantastic here, and it is. There's parts of this lifestyle that are amazing, and it's also true what you're saying, Eric. You can just transpose one prison for another, can't you? So I suppose it become the pink cloud. Just to clarify that the pink cloud is the sort of honeymoon period. The pink cloud that you live in of like everything's great because I've bought a house near the sea and I've got great broadband and I can work online. But then the pink cloud becomes possibly not a sort of gilded prison, but like a pink prison, if you like. And that what was a sort of dreamy space of idealism and optimism, opportunity, we recreate those same difficulties, or we're sucked in by the same influences, but in a new place.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So you see what you want to see. When you talk about idealism, that's
yeah,
what I was touching on earlier.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
my one is not to say something is wrong with you if you choose to move here. Absolutely not. I love this place.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
choose to stay here because I love the culture. I love the weather. I love everything.
Mm,
Don't get me wrong. I don't see myself in Canada at the moment. Things are very uncertain. Things are scary. Things are very expensive. So I'm
yeah,
not going to judge anyone. I will even say to people that are listening to us, come to Portugal for God's sake.
yes,
However, for the amount of people I had a chance to talk to, expats that I met during meetings on Meetup, Internations or so, I was always listening to the same story again and again.
mm,
I left the country because I couldn't stand the whatever it is, if it's not the politicians that we know of or the weather condition or so, there's always a reason,
yeah,
which is fair again.
yeah,
Unfortunately, if you're not familiar with traumas that are kind of suggesting you to make the move, because again, it's unrecognized traumas, It means that you carry that with you unconsciously,
Yeah.
which is causing more pain in your life and the life of people around you.
Yep.
And then you limit yourselves to what can become a healthy social ecosystem.
Very interesting. And I don't know of anyone talking about this. And it's a conversation certainly worth having for those who want to have it. You know, for some people, obviously, it'll be like, no, I don't recognize that, or I'm not interested in that, or yes, that's fascinating, but I don't want to talk about it. That's what happened, I think, quite often with the aging and dying and living, aging and dying groups. It's like, wow, that's amazing. It's a great idea. No, thanks. Because it can be confronting and it can be challenging. But, you know, I like to think with our community, we can go and we can discuss these subjects. We can look at things from a different angle. And for people who want to talk about it, we can hold that space, as it were, and have those conversations.
And that's the goal, right? That's what we talked about before we got on air, is to create a space that is safe, a place where we can honor people's differences and choices, so that we're not trying to impose. Like, we don't need to do that. We're not trying to impose ideas or anything. There's politicians who do that very well. That's not the goal here. It's just to be cool and friendly, supportive. But I think this reality check is also important.
Agree. I totally agree. And there are so many convergences here. You know, we've talked before about there being some kind of center of well-being awareness, of vitality vacations, of healthy holidays. And this might happen around the Silver Coast. There's, you know, a gathering sense of that. There was a lovely, my family went to a lovely Earth Health and Healing Fair in Alcobaça yesterday. The vibes were great. So the influences, the energy is definitely something in the air. And you're bringing a new thing to the table, which I really appreciate. You know, the pink clouds, the digital parasites. And what now for people who recognize that they might have recreated a new, I mean, this is humanity at work. This is what happens, isn't it? We move, we adjust, we evolve, and then we've got a new thing to address. And this might be for some people that new thing, right? Oh, I've recreated a similar situation because maybe I didn't scratch too deeply or didn't really understand what was going on in the bigger picture. You must have had conversations with people then about this, Eric, about, you know, recreating their prison. What's the intervention? What's the treatment? What's your approach with this?
Well, I can talk about the natural antidote in ways where people can reconnect with their senses, also called common sense for a reason. So they can establish clear boundaries between the time they spend online, whatever the reason is, professional level, personal level, what is this, with real interactions, you know. And that demands some, in today's world, I will say demands some courage.
Yeah, agreed.
Demands some honesty and some courage, because it's too easy nowadays. I mean, you can sit in front of a machine and spend your entire days, and it's fine.
Yeah.
You feel a sense of fulfillment, yet there's a price to pay at the end.
Yeah, and people do. This is definitely happening, isn't it? I actually heard Teal Swan talking about this. I'm sure you're familiar with Teal Swan.
Oh, yes.
Saying her interviewer was asked a very similar question. So, you know, what to do then? How to address? I think with her, it was talking about, you know, traumatic situations, and it was a similar suggestion of connecting with people IRL, in real life.
In real life.
Something happens there, doesn't it?
Well, that's why this year Jolo is gaining so much traction, and it's becoming the biggest trend on the market.
Tell us
now,
about
what's Jolo, right? What's the Jolo?
Yeah.
Jolo is a way to recover from the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Jolo is the joy of lugging out. But we have to be cautious, because nowadays we're immersed with buzzwords of all sorts. And joy of lugging out.
Okay, got it.
And the problem is there are so many buzzwords that it's easy to be completely at the mercy of all the things that mean nothing. You understand when I say that?
Yeah, I do, absolutely.
Because the truth is, if you just go for a walk in a park, or just go for a walk, period, you already have half of the benefits from taking some time off. Now, of course, I don't need to add that you leave your phone at home. Thank you. You just go for a walk. because sometimes we make it so complicated, right? And nowadays I see lots of gurus, wellness gurus, that are selling their apps or programs. I'm like, dude, I need to rest. I don't need more.
Yes.
I mean, the brain quota, we also need to remember we have limits.
Yeah.
And I can go on and give you this full 20 weeks program loaded with content borrowed by AI, by the way.
Of course.
It's plastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's superficial,
Mm.
right? So we need to go back to the essential. That's why my approach is always less is more.
Yep.
In everything I do, less is more.
Well, thank you for this. The joy of logging off, logging out, and introducing us to these ideas. And we make a declaration of intent here, don't we, to support people who want to free themselves, expand beyond that restriction. And, you know, it's very important. It's not a judgment and it's not an ideology. It's an opportunity or possibility.
It's
right?
an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes. Yeah. And there's some key words that came up for me as I was pondering all of these things. And I think, I don't know which happened first, whether I was thinking of you and thought, can we talk again tonight? Or thinking, well, as soon as I realized we were talking tonight, that these things were going through my mind. But diligence and discipline seem to be very important, because there is no magic cure that someone else can enact upon you. No app is going to work. And people notoriously buy and download courses and then don't do anything with them. We all do that.
Yes.
You do need to bring some discipline to this, don't you? And you need some discernment and discipline. I think are two words what I meant to say. But you added another one of consistency, right? But that's similar to discipline, right?
Constancy is very important. Discipline and constancy.
Right.
If you look at any religion or system that went through the ages, Buddhism is an example, because I've been practicing Buddhism. Just to learn how to be focused, just to learn how to stop, just to learn how to focus on my breathing, just to learn how to be constant. And the idea is not to follow everything and nothing, but rather pick something that speaks to you.
Yes.
So I'm very, very sensitive with that part, because some people would say, oh, so I just have to do that. No, you need to know who you are. What's your profile like?
Yes.
And that's the reason why I created this wellness by design methodology that we can touch on another time. But the whole idea was to use my own journey of self-recovery, going from 20 years of online addiction to what I am today.
Well, on that note, I mean, it's easy to talk about things, isn't it? And often it really helps to put it into perspective from personal experience. Can I tease you out at all on your own personal story, your kind of origin story, the backstory to all of this, so people can understand what you've been through, and only as much as you're prepared to share?
Oh yeah, well, I think by now you know I had my life was far from being easy. I was exposed to traumas at an early age, and I had no clue what to do with that. So for many years, I was just trying to deal with it or survive, simply say. But as I got older, I found that there were options that exist that are outside of the usual, meaning that I was exposed to the Eastern medicine, which is everything from Tai Chi, Qigong, martial arts, acupuncture. So already when I was in my young adulthood, I started to learn about this stuff. And slowly but surely, it took me out of my addiction and gave me a chance to become who I am today.
Excellent.
You know, very grounded, very resilient, and positive, but not into this toxic positivity.
Yeah.
And that's why I was talking about Buddhism, because digital sobriety is key to vitality.
Yeah.
Hard to understand, right? But if you look at it from a different angle, it means that if you try to buy all the programs, because everything is free these days, kind of, and you try to consume all of the stuff, well, you're going to have an ingestion.
Yeah, right.
You're not respecting the natural flow that need to take place. I would lie to you if I say that, oh yeah, 20 something years ago, I would have taken all of this stuff that I've learned over the years in just short 3 months time, I wouldn't be who I am today. But the fact that I chose to do it every single day, no exceptions to make. And now it becomes an habit.
Yeah.
If I don't do it, I know I'm missing something, right? So I'm not into this kind of spiritual bypass, quick fix, band-aid solution that everything will be good in 2 weeks. It's like I'm not selling pink clouds. I'm not saying to people, look, work with me 2 weeks time, and after that you're good to go. You're going to be free. You're going to be able to use this phone whenever you want to. No, it's a wellness by design. It means that every single day you're going to have to work your booty off to change your habits, because we're a creature of habits.
Yes, and this is where the power of community comes in as well, isn't it? Because
so much.
you need to be working with other people who understand what you're going through, who can and help each other stand back up when you trip over, all those sorts of things. So I think it's very important, and people know that.
And Carl, that's why this new generation is shooting themselves in the foot, pretending that they can do everything by themselves.
Yes.
I call BS on that, okay? And before I used to do that on podcast, and I said, can you delete that content? I think it's too much. And now I realize, wait a minute, no, I think it's time to talk about it, you know?
Yes, Eric, why not?
No, seriously, when I see kiddos that are 20 years old that already have certification in trauma, certification in coaching, this and that, I mean, dude, you're a kid.
Yes.
Act like a kid. My mentors, I don't know about you, Carl, but my mentors, I have one in Vancouver. We known each other for 27 years here. He's 88 years old. We talk on the phone every week. It's my family. I had to rebuild my family. I had to invest time to look after the people that would respect me for who I am. That will help me develop values that is more than just making a living and having fun.
Yeah, very good.
Huge.
Very good. Well, all of this, I hope to unfold, discuss more, and connect with people who are inspired by this kind of talk and this type of insight. Is there anything you want to say in conclusion on this particular episode? Because I think this is part of a series now, isn't it?
It is definitely a series, and like we said before, if we load this little time together too much, people will be overwhelmed. And I think the idea is just to open the space to have this conversation that is so needed, and to remember that nobody is wrong, but there's got to be better ways to live to gain results you want to achieve. And furthermore, as we will discuss about another time, that 60 years old is just the beginning of a new life.
Well, yes, I'm not sure if I mentioned it live, but maybe that's where I started. But I definitely something is happening. You've influenced me for sure, and I can feel a definite bit of Jolo coming on of refining, because the reason why I thought of discrimination, no, not discernment, rather. Discrimination's got a terrible meaning now, isn't it? But I think in essence, being, to discriminate, you can do that in a wise way. You can discriminate, what's useful to you, rather than just, it's become a problem, a kind of, racial association. But discernment, rather than doing an extreme thing that I would have done at a younger age of, right, that's it, I'm just throwing my phone in the river, which lasts about 3 days, because I'll go and get it and put it in a bag of rice and then just pretend nothing's happened. It's about being disciplined and constancy, like you say, consistency, and where I put my focus is going to be the ongoing work. And that's, I'm looking for allies, looking for friends on that journey. I think you're one of them. And just magically, I'm thinking, okay, I must spend less time, or not, I want to spend less time staring into this thing. And the time I'm not staring into this thing, I can be in my local neighborhood, which when I moved here, I was thinking I'll go to the market every day and I'll buy my food at the market and I'll, say hi to people locally. And I'll definitely do some of that, but I don't do as much as I thought I was going to do. And that's because I allow this to prioritize my life on my behalf, on my behalf. So a year of living locally might be coming up.
Yeah.
Working with you in this way to do it gradually, to do it joyfully, and with others as well, to, to dispense or to decrease the amount of time we're staring into that abyss there that tends to take more than it gives when in retrospect. And the big one, to learn Portuguese. That's
Which is the whole idea.
yeah, right. Absolutely. It's been a long time coming. And anyone who wants to join us in this kind of journey, please reach out, and we're happy to help and chat with you some more about this. And we'll have another conversation of this kind. So last word to you, my friend.
Boy, what can we say? Maybe it's time for a pause for anyone who's interested to join us, to understand the full value of it. And of course, I'll touch on it as we go into the programs.
Okay. All right. I'm going to push the stop button rather than just the pause, and we'll see you again. We'll see you again soon, and we won't take it personally if you choose to go for a walk instead of listening to us. Here's a pink cloud for you.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts.